So last time we studied the principles, basic principles of experimental design. We saw principle of replication, which tells that we are not to take a single reading, single replica, but we have to take maybe more than one reading. Okay. Then the principle of randomization. While selecting the sample, we have to select randomly. Okay. That is principle of randomization. And then principle of local control. There are chances that there can be extraneous variable. What is the meaning of extraneous variable? That today we'll see. Okay. So in principle of local control, so what we do is we measure the extraneous variable and to what extent it is affecting to our phenomenon that we measure and correct. Okay, so that is called as principle of local control. That we'll see now again. So what we'll do, we'll see the parameters which are included in this description. Okay, so important concepts which are related to the research design we'll see. So whenever I use any word like extraneous variable, that you will come to know. Okay, so this concepts will understand. So very in the starting, we saw what is the dependent and independent variable. Okay. So what happens, the variable, what is the meaning of variable? Please understand. Variable is, we can say, the concept which value changes. Okay. Like if you see, suppose my variable is temperature. So it is a concept which value changes. So temperature is a variable. Okay. Temperature is what? Variable. So variable is a concept which value changes. So it is vary. Simply in the simple word, variable is what? Which changes. So that is called as what? Variable. Okay. Like for example, temperature, weight, height, income. Okay. These are the examples of variable. Variable in simple sense, what is the concept which value changes. So what we are seeing, the few concepts which are related to the research design. So already we have seen the principles of research design, experimental design. Okay, so we have used some words there. Okay. Also here we will come to know some important concepts related to the research design. So first we are saying what is meant by variable. So variable is a concept which varies, which changes, like the temperature, weight, height, income. Okay, these are the variable. In qualitative phenomenon or they are quantified on the basis of presence or absence of the concerning attribute. Okay. So phenomenon which can be quantitatively different values even in decimal places, decimal points are called as continuous variables. Okay. They are called as continuous variables. So we'll see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are what? Non-continuous or discrete variable. Please understand. Suppose non-continuous. If the variable value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this, so it is a non-continuous. So it is not in decimal places. So decimal places are 0. So that is called as non-continuous variable. Okay, so that is called as non-continuous variable. But phenomenon which are continuous and that are even expressed like 1.2, 1.3, 1.35 like this or anything, okay, not in a repetitive pattern, okay. Whole number is there 1, 2, 3, 4, but here even it is in decimal places. So that is called as continuous. That is called as what? Continuous variable. That is called as what? Continuous variable. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay. So
Excuse me, sir.
continuous variable, yes.
Uh, can we term the value of pi as a continuous variable or no?
So it is not continuous, it's a fixed value. Okay. It is a
Okay.
non-continuous value. Okay. It is a single value. Okay.
Oh, okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Thank
Yeah. So please understand the pi is not variable. What is concept of variable? It is changing.
you.
Okay. Pi is what? Constant.
Okay.
But its value is very, very long actually. Okay. It is very
Yeah, that is why I'm
long
asking.
value. Yeah. But it
Yeah.
is a fixed value. It is not
Okay.
variable. It is a what is called as constant.
First.
Okay. So we are seeing about the continuous and non-continuous variable. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it is what? Non-continuous, or we can say other word is there discrete variable.
Discrete way.
Another name is what? Discrete variable. But like your value is 1.2, 1.3, 1.35, 1.385 like that. It is called as what? Continuous
Okay.
variable. Okay. Continuous variable. Okay. So first we saw what is a variable. Variable which changes. Pi is not changing. So it is not variable. It is a constant. Okay. Then we saw the two concepts. What is continuous and non-continuous? Continuous means even it is in decimal place, like 1.2, 1.25, like 1.35, 1.38, like that. Okay. It is continuous. It is not having any definite gap. Okay. So that is called as uh, continuous and non-continuous. Non-continuous is also called as a discrete variable. So we saw the examples of variable like weight of person, height of person, income of person. Okay. It is a variable, temperature,
Discrete.
pressure, it is a variable. Now we'll take example of what is a continuous variable and non-continuous variable. Like mass of the atom or our weight. Okay. It is a continuous variable. Okay. Like we take the mass of 10%. It will be continuous variable. One can be having where one can be having 60 kg, one can be 61, 75 like this. Okay. So that variable is what? Continuous variable.
Continuous variable.
Yeah. Mass of atom or mass of, we can say, person. Okay. So it is a continuous variable. Now we'll take the example of non-continuous. Okay. So here please understand it is very important. Non-continuous like number of cars. Okay.
Hmm.
Cars can be 1, 2, 3. It can be one, it cannot be 1.5. Okay. It cannot be 1.5 or 1.7. So car can be either 1 or 2 or can be 3. Okay, like number of childrens. You can have one child, 2, 3 like this, but it cannot be 1.5. Okay, so that
It's a
is called
discrete
as
variable.
non. Yeah, it is called as non-continuous or discrete variable. Okay. Now we have already seen dependent and independent variable, but I still want to repeat here because our topic is independent and independent parameter or variable. If one variable depends upon or is consequence of other variable, then the variable is called as dependent variable. Like, we'll give the example here in the next slide. Next is the variable which causes the variation is called as what? Independent parameter. Okay. Suppose there is a parameter A and there is parameter B. So if there is variation of B, which causes the effect on variable A, then it is a dependent variable and it depends on the B. Okay. Then what is it is? Dependent variable. Okay, because
Dependent
it
variable, correct.
dependent on the B. And B is called as what? Independent variable.
Independent
Because
variable.
as it varies, it causes the effect on the parameter A. Then it is called as independent
Variable.
variable. Okay. So if the parameter on which effect occurs, please understand. Parameter on which effect occur is called as dependent parameter. Okay.
Dependent variable. Right.
And one who causes this effect is called as independent parameter.
Independent.
Okay. The parameter which causes the effect is independent parameter, and the parameter or variable which changes because of the change in other parameter is called as what? Dependent parameter. So we'll see the example here. Just clear this drawing. We'll see the example. Like we know that the weight and age are related. Okay. Like weight of a person having the age 1 year can be maybe about 6 kg. Person with the age 2 years can be 12. T can be 20, like this. Okay. With the age 20, it can be 40, like this. So the age and weight as well as height, okay, they are related. Okay. The height is dependent variable, okay, and the age is independent parameter. Please understand. We know that as the age increases, the weight increases, height increases.
Height increases.
Okay. So we can say the height is what? In dependent parameter,
Dependent.
and age is independent parameter. As the age is changing, it causes the effect on what? Height. Similarly, on the weight, it can cause the effect. Okay, so we can say age is what? Independent parameter.
And height is dependent.
Yeah, and height is what? Dependent parameter. As well as the weight of person is dependent parameter. Okay.
Dependent parameter.
So we'll take only one example here, height and age. So as the age changes, what happens? Height changes. So age is independent parameter and height is what? Dependent. Height depends on what? What is called a dependent parameter? Height depends on what? Age.
Age.
Okay. So height is which parameter? Dependent parameter, and age is independent parameter. Same way, the gender affects the the height. We know that height of females is little less than the male, so gender also affects the height. Okay. So age and gender, we can say, are the independent parameters. Okay. Age and gender are independent parameter, whereas height is what? Dependent parameter. Okay. Now we'll see what is meant by extraneous variable. We already seen in the principle of experiment design that there can be extraneous variable. Like we saw the example that there are two types of, we can say, the variety of rice or wheat rice, okay, and we want to compare their productivity, okay. But in that case, we saw that there can be a difference in the what is called as soil condition. Okay, soil condition can be different. Okay, so it can affect uh, the productivity or yield of the particular variety. So that is called as what? Extraneous fertility of the land. So what we are talking about, the fertility of the land can be different. If the land is very big, maybe at one end fertility of the land is different, at the other it is different. So the fertility of the land can be the extraneous parameter. But our purpose is only to compare the two variety of the rice. Okay. What is their produce? What is their quality? Okay. But we are not taking the parameter called as fertility. So fertility is what? Extraneous variable. So it is also the independent variable. Please
Correct,
understand.
correct.
Like
I was about to
fertility
say.
of the land, it is also the independent
Independent.
parameter,
Correct.
and it is causing the effect on the dependent parameter. Okay. So independent variable that are not related to the purpose of study. So our purpose of study is not including. Okay, our purpose is only to compare the yield of two varieties of the rice. Okay, so our
Correct.
purpose is not to study the effect of what is called as fertility, a variation on the yield of two varieties. So we can say that fertility of the land is extraneous parameter. Okay, so I will
Correct.
again repeat, the independent variable that are not related to the purpose of study but may affect the dependent variable are called as extraneous variable. Okay.
Sir, can
Yes.
we take one more example to explain this?
Yeah, I will take examples here. Extraneous variable. Now I have given one example here that we want to test. This is the example from the book itself. Okay, we want to test the hypothesis. Let's hypothesis that there is a relation between children's gain in the social studies and its self concept. Okay, imagination about self, that is called as self concept. Okay, in this case, self concept is an independent variable. Okay, self concept is here what? Independent variable, and it is affecting the social study achievement of that particular person. Okay, so social study achievement is what? Dependent parameter. Now here you can see that not only the self concept is important, okay, but intelligence is also the one of the parameter. Okay, so here we have not taken into account the intelligence, but it will affect. Okay, so that is the intelligence is what here? Extraneous variable. So if intelligence is high, he will have faster social studies achievement. But if the intelligence is less, it will be slower. Okay, the person will be slower to achieve the studies in the social science. Okay, okay. Then we can say the intelligence is a extraneous parameter. I will give one more example here. Okay. I entered here. I will just go next slide. Okay. So now first we'll take example, continue the example. I will take second example. Does the sleep deprivation affect the driving ability? Okay. Suppose the person is not sleeping and is driving, whether this sleep deprivation affects the driving ability. Okay. But please understand, if he's coming from Mumbai, very smooth road, Mumbai Pune Express Highway. Okay, so it is very good road and there are less turns. Okay, but if he's driving on this Mumbai Pune Express Highway, the effect can be different. Okay, there are chances that he may go to sleep. Okay, but if he's driving on normal Pune road where the conditions are not very good, okay, so there are chances that he will not sleep. Okay, so here the road condition is the extraneous parameter, please understand. Okay, the road condition is extraneous parameter. Okay, now we'll next example we'll take that is related, that is the memory capacity related to test performance. Suppose we conduct any test for the students, so whether his or her performance is linked to the memory capacity. So no, there can be other parameters also, okay? Not only memory, whether there is anxiety, whether there is stress, student is suffering from the stress because of the exam, anxiety, okay? So all this will lead to its performance in the test. So alone the memory, so whether he's having good memory or bad memory, not only that, but also there are some other parameters, okay? But in our particular study, we'll only concentrate on what? Memory capacity and test performance. But there are other parameters which can cause the effect on the test performance, like the exam stress, anxiety, okay? This will also, and duration of the test, okay? So if it is short test, there can be more stress on the student. If the long test, he can relax mode, can write the test, okay? So the test anxiety and level of stress, these are what? Extraneous variable, okay? Now we'll understand further. So extraneous variable will be causing the effect on dependent variable, and whatever that effect, we call it as what? Experimental error, okay? We call it as a error, experimental error, okay? So we call the effect of extraneous variable on dependent variable called as a experimental error. So study must be always conducted, always be designed in such way that there should be effect of independent parameter on dependent parameter, and there should not be effect of extraneous variable on the dependent variable. So we should try to minimize the effect of extraneous variable on the dependent variable. That will be our task in designing the research. That will be our task in designing the research. Okay, got? We got the now three examples total. Okay, 4 examples.
Yes, sir.
Three examples.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes.
So there is one equation called y is equal to f of x plus n. So the extraneous variable what you are talking about is a noise, correct?
Y is equals to
F of x plus n. So y is the independent variable. Dependent variable. Which is dependent on the f of x. F of x is the
yes.
x's are the
X is
independent variable.
independent variable,
Yeah.
and A pen
plus noise is
A pen N are constant.
extraneous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we assume, like you told me the equation y is equals to fx into n. So x is the independent variable, y is dependent variable. Here we have to take care that there is a one variable called as z, okay, which is extraneous variable. So what we have to do is we have to keep it constant.
Correct.
What we have to do is we have to keep it a constant. So then we can say this relation is valid. Okay. So many times we also mention what is the value of z in particular condition. Are you getting? We have to also sometimes mention the value of extraneous variable. Like I conduct some study at particular temperature. Suppose I conduct now in India, most of condition is 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. Okay, so I say I conducted this study at 30 degrees Celsius. This is the relation. I conducted a study at 40 degrees. This is the relation. So temperature is extraneous variable. Okay, and I'm also mentioning its level. Okay, it's always better to mention the level of extraneous variable. Now we'll move to the control. We have already seen that just we discussed now y is equals to fx plus n. This in this case, x is the independent variable, y is dependent variable, and f and n are what? Constant. So what we assume here that extraneous variable or other independent parameter is constant. So when we make it constant, or when we mention it, okay? So whenever you conduct the study, please try to conduct at one value. At one value.
Sir, excuse sir, that becomes assumption in experiment.
Yes? Hello?
Does it become assumption in experiment, that constant value?
No, not assumption. We have to either maintain that or measure that. Okay.
Achha, measure.
Don't allow to change. Okay. I will just discuss this and then we can. I will tell you about control and then we can discuss. Okay. As we know that research, we have already seen the characteristic of research is to be conducted in the controlled condition. One of the important characteristics of good research design, what is that? We have to minimize the effect of extraneous variable. Okay. We have to minimize the effect of extraneous variable because what happens, it can cause the change in the dependent variable. So here term control is used when we design the study to minimize the effect of extraneous independent variable to the acceptable level. Okay, so we have to minimize the effect of extraneous variable on the dependent variable to the acceptable level. Please understand. Yeah. We have to minimize to what extent? To the acceptable level. Okay. If the effects are very huge, then we need to control that parameter. Okay. So many times, as I mentioned, in science and engineering, many times it is possible to control the what is called as extraneous variable, but it is not possible always. Okay. When it is not possible, what we can do is we cannot completely control, make it zero effect, but we can minimize that. And we have to minimize to the level of acceptable condition. So what they in experimental research, what they do, control means what they restrain the experimental condition. They don't allow the condition to change. That is called as control. So this is the important characteristic of research. Actually, we have already seen research is conducted in the controlled condition. Yes. Are you asking any question now? Hello.
No, sir.
Yeah. So control means what? We have to control. What we have to control? We have to control the extraneous variable, so that the effect of its effect on the dependent variable is minimum. Okay, that is called as what? Control. Then comes confounded relation. Okay. When we say confounded relation, when dependent variable
Sir?
is, yes.
Sir, in earlier case, in the control, so we are controlling only the extraneous variable, no? Not other.
Yeah. Yeah. We are controlling means we are keeping it fixed. Extraneous variable. Okay.
Okay.
And we are
Okay.
allowing
Only
to,
that variable.
yeah, we are allowing to change the what is called as independent parameter. Okay.
Okay.
Now we'll see the
Sir,
confounded
any example?
that will take now later on. Okay, in the same lecture.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Now we'll see the confounded relation when dependent variable is not free from the effect of extraneous variable. The relation is between the dependent and independent parameter is called as confounded by extraneous variable. Okay. So what happens when the relation between dependent and independent variable is, if it is affected by the extraneous variable, then it is called as what? Confounded by extraneous variable. The relation between the dependent and independent variable, if it is affected by extraneous variable, then it is called as the relation is confounded by extraneous variable. That relation will call as confounded relationship. Okay. That relationship is called as what? Confounded relation means we need to take care of extraneous variable. Okay. You have to be careful about the extraneous variable. You already seen the research hypothesis. When a prediction or hypothesis relation is to be tested by a scientific method, it is called as hypothesis. Hypothesis, we have already seen hypothesis is what? It is a guess or prediction. Okay. When we test it by a scientific method, that hypothesis is called as what? Research hypothesis. So research hypothesis is what? It is a predictive statement. Or what is that predictive statement? That relates independent variable and dependent variable. So what is that? It is a predictive statement about the relationship between the dependent and independent variable. Okay.
But sir, sorry to intervene, but under control condition only, right?
Here we are not mentioning anything. Okay, hypothesis,
Achha.
like I told you the hypothesis that whether the memory affect the performance in the test. So whether we are mentioning in that hypothesis, means like memory affects the performance in the test. So I will write the hypothesis that more the better the memory, more better is performance in the test. This is my hypothesis. Okay.
Hypothesis.
But here I am not mentioning about extraneous variable, that is about his condition. Okay. Like test condition, his stress level, that I am not mentioning. But that stress level is the extraneous variable. Okay.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So when predictive statements that are not objectively verified, please understand, if you write any statement and if you not verify, then it is not the research hypothesis. Please understand. We write and test, then it is become the research hypothesis. Okay. When we just write the statement, it is not the hypothesis. But when we write and test, then it becomes what? Research hypothesis. Please understand. Now we'll move further. Now we'll see what is meant by experimental and non-experimental hypothesis testing. When purpose of the research is to test the research hypothesis, it is termed as hypothesis testing. Okay. When we create the hypothesis and when we test, it is called as what? Hypothesis testing. Okay. It can be of experimental design or non-experimental design. What do you mean by experimental design here? Research in which independent variable is manipulated, varied, is called as what? Experimental hypothesis testing. When we vary or we manipulate independent variable, then it is called as what? Experimental hypothesis testing research. What is the meaning of experimental here? When we vary the independent parameter, then it is called as what? Experimental hypothesis testing research. Okay. Research in which independent variable is not manipulated, it is called as what? Non-experimental hypothesis testing research. Okay. To purposely vary the parameter or manipulate, then it is called as experimental. Otherwise, it is called as what? Non-experimental hypothesis testing research. Okay. Now we'll take the example here. Suppose a researcher wants to study whether the intelligence affect the reading ability of the group. Okay, here we will take one example, that whether intelligence of the person affects his reading ability. Okay. So can you tell me whether this will be experimental or non-experimental?
Non-experimental.
Yeah, non-experimental, because what happens? So we cannot vary the intelligence. Okay. So then it becomes what? Non-experimental hypothesis testing research. Okay. So I'll just move to the next slide. Okay, so in that case, what we do, we select 50 students and test their intelligence and reading ability. Okay, once we do that, we calculate their intelligence and reading ability, and then we will try the relation between the two sets of the scores. So this is the example of what? Non-experimental hypothesis. Okay. So we will again meet in 8 minutes. Okay. So I think the time is 40 minutes is over.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.